Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our second episode of The Soapbox, a podcast hosted by the Students of One Health Club at UC Davis. For our second episode today, we have Dr. Sinnott joining us. Thanks so much for being here.
Of course, glad to be here.
So I'm just going to give a brief introduction. Dr. Sinnott graduated from The Ohio State University with her degree in veterinary medicine. And then she did her residency in anatomic pathology here at UC Davis, focused in zoo and wildlife pathology. And she is currently a PhD student here in the graduate group in integrative pathobiology and a Shapiro lab member. And so that's basically a brief summary of Dr. Sinnott. And for our first question, we're just going to start off super light. Basically, as an anatomic pathologist, what is the coolest animal that you have necropsied so far in your career?
The coolest animal I've ever necropsied was Coco the gorilla, the one who knew sign language.
No way.
She passed away when I was a resident, and so I got that case on the necropsy floor, and it was like necropsying a celebrity, someone that you've grown up with, and you know who they are, and it was just really, really cool to just see her up close and see her story.
That is actually incredible. That's really cool.
It was moving. We were on the necropsy floor until like 11 p.m., but it was a wonderful experience.
That's really, really cool. And so as anatomic pathologists, what are like the contributions to society kind of? Because I feel like a lot of times, it's like more of like a behind the scenes kind of thing. Like you're not interacting with, I guess, like the human clients kind of thing. Right. So just to kind of like talk about how that is.
Sure. And I think one of the beautiful things about anatomic pathology is that there's so many different avenues that you can pursue in it. So, there's diagnostic side where, we're diagnosing biopsies or doing necropsies for cats and dogs or other pets. But pathologists are also really involved in food safety and disease outbreak investigations in livestock. The California Animal Health and Food Safety Lab next door to us monitors the livestock herds that could potentially have zoonotic diseases or other transmissible diseases between livestock. I participate a lot in the wildlife side, so looking for infectious diseases or other diseases that are in wildlife populations, how that impacts their health. There are pathologists that are involved in drug development, animal model studies. There's really so many avenues that pathologists can contribute to science, to health, and to just the community at large.
That's really cool. Do you find yourself when kind of more on the large animal, food animal, wildlife side, are you kind of collaborating more with like the human kind of like side of like necropsy, autopsy, like looking at that kind of dynamic as well?
Yeah, totally. And from a livestock perspective, a lot of interaction occurs with the producers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of conversations about their management practices, outbreak situations, dealing directly with them, any human contact for things like avian influenza, tracing outbreaks of that to animal flocks. And then on the wildlife side, we deal with a really broad array of people, everyone from clinical veterinarians, wildlife biologists, the public who, may find dead or injured wildlife. There's really a broad scope of people to get involved with.
Sounds really cool. And so after getting your doctorate in veterinary medicine, I guess what made you decide to come back to school to get a PhD? I guess just because like there must be some sort of like, like benefit. Like, so I guess what are the differences in what you can do with like the PhD that you're going to get versus you're already like doctorate and a residency in anatomic pathology? Like, yeah.
For me, it was really my interest in research that drew me back to grad school. And grad school, or being a veterinarian and being a pathologist, you do gain a lot of science knowledge and a lot of skills in medicine and diagnostics. But to really get that research experience and being able to see a project through from study design to actually learning the techniques and technology used to do it, to analyzing that data, to writing and presenting that information. Grad school is really, I think, the best way to to get that full experience and make you a really well-rounded researcher. And so for me, it was that passion for research that drew me back after many years of being in school already.
So with the, I guess, PhD program, you're more looking to kind of like lead your own research. Is that kind of, because I've heard before that you can do research as like a DVM, but that it's more like you have to find research that someone else is doing that you're interested in. So is this more like you're looking to kind of lead your own research programs, I guess, or like be able to do what you want to do without any inhibitions?
And I think if you if you are interested in like running your own lab or being a main point of contact for research, having the PhD is definitely helpful. But there are also, much like having a DVM or residency training, with a PhD, there's lots of other opportunities for collaborative research. So many of the other pathologists or wildlife biologists have masters or PhDs as well. So it really having a PhD is also good because you learn your unique little microcosm, but then, someone else who studied, ecology or statistics and epidemiology you can bring your expertise together to really get a nice cohesive project.
Cool. Just out of curiosity, in the group right now, are the like demographics, are most of the students also DVMs or doing the like
we have a good mix, honestly. So even just within our lab, Dr. Karen Shapiro's lab, I'm currently the only DVM PhD student. The other two PhD students are not DVMs, but within our greater graduate group, we have a mix of DVMs, people who already have DVMs, some are residency trained. We have VSTP people participating, and then people just straight out of undergrad or may have a master. So it really is quite a mix.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay. And then for our next question, with your work currently as a PhD student, collaborating with different professionals from diverse disciplines, how do you kind of address like some of the complex health issues that come across when you're working with like the human animal environment interface?
Yeah, that is a great question because, as veterinarians, we're very trained and focused on the animal side of things. But to handle some of these really complex disease questions, it does take a village. And that kind of goes back to that expertise point I was making about how, you have your little niche, but sometimes you need other people to complement that. So we have, biologists that are more on the ecology side that are helping us understand, for my project specifically, sea otter health and populations and distributions. We are working with an epidemiologist who's really helping us with statistical modeling. And then, just interacting with the public as well is something that I didn't think that I would be doing as a pathologist and PhD student, but I have gotten the opportunity to speak to reporters, be on local news, work with classrooms of school-age kids. So getting training on that as well is something that I was not expecting to have to do. But it's been a wonderful experience and a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you mind telling us just a little bit about like your research currently?
Sure. So my PhD research is focused on protozoal parasites of southern sea otters here in California. So the two big parasites that I study are Toxoplasma gondii. So that is a zoonotic parasite shed by cat feces or wild felid feces, and then can infect humans, lots of other wildlife and domestic animals as well. And then the other parasite I study primarily is Sarcocystis neurona, which we primarily think of in horses as causing equine protozoal myeloencephalitis. But in sea otters, it also causes severe neurologic disease. So my research is really looking at different strains of these parasites and how they affect sea otter health and populations.
It's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. And we have a little sea otter here for you. Okay. And so how has like studying pathology and wildlife, how does that contribute to our understanding of zoonotic diseases and kind of like their transmission dynamics?
Yeah, I think that, wildlife is an important reservoir for a lot of zoonotic diseases. So, like things like West Nile virus, a lot of other viral causes of disease, high path avian influenza. A lot of that can be kind of harbored and transmitted within wildlife. And so I think sometimes wildlife is a good sentinel for being able to find outbreaks of disease or find new manifestations of disease. So, in my particular research, we identified this strain of toxoplasma that had never been reported in California coastal environment before, in sea otters, and it's a apparently very lethal strain. So while there are no human infections with the strain reported, the fact that it's here in coastal California is noteworthy because now we know that this is a parasite humans can get infected with, and humans that are sharing the same environment in sea otters could potentially be infected as well, or people who are handling sea otters, biologists, veterinarians. So sometimes it's good just to kind of use wildlife as a screening or sentinel tool to identify diseases.
Cool. So it's a bit of more of like a proactive kind of, I guess, with what you're doing now, just kind of like screening, and that's cool. So I guess in lieu of that, what would be like the next steps after you kind of do your research, study, understand a disease? I know you mentioned like the education part of it, like going out and educating community professionals. But is there also like legislature involved, or like, I guess, like developing treatment or cure? Like what are like the next steps, I guess, after? Or are you involved in that, or does it go to someone else, I guess?
Partly.
Okay.
So, it really kind of depends on the disease and the questions that you're asking. For when it comes to wildlife specifically, treatment is often challenging because they're free ranging. Unless they're captive or rehabilitated animals, it can be challenging. But not impossible, like for rabies, where they developed the vaccination program out on the East Coast. So sometimes those measures can be effective. I think that, community education and outreach is really important, getting people to care and understand about these diseases and how it can impact their health and the environmental health. And I think legislature is an important thing, for, again, just going back to kind of sea otters and parasites. We know that wetlands act as natural filters for a lot of terrestrial pathogens that are transmitted through freshwater. And so protecting wetlands is really important because they kind of help filter out some of these pathogens before they reach the ocean. So taking legislative measures to protect wetlands, rehabilitate them, is important for maintaining sea otter health. So I think, that's just an example of a way that humans can get involved and our actions can help preserve wildlife health.
Yeah, that's really cool. Did you have to learn a lot about kind of like the wetland ecosystem and ecology?
I did.
Well? Yeah.
I had to harken back to my zoology major and be like, I've focused on the medicine for so long.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to think big picture on like an environmental scale.
That's really cool though. I feel like that's like literally the perfect example of how everything interacts and like, yeah. And then I guess, do you have any advice for vet students that are interested in pursuing a PhD or doing research as part of their career?
Yeah, I think the best way is to get experience doing research, whether that's the STAR program, doing a full summer program, externships, internships with different companies or research groups, just getting that experience to make sure you know what's involved, make sure that you like it. Some people, love working at the lab bench. Some people are much more computational. They like using, statistical modeling or software to help them with things. Some people really like field work. So just getting that kind of broad experience. And then just like talking to people who are in the field, whether that's one-on-one here at UC Davis, or if you have the means to travel to conferences, and just see what research is being done in the field you're interested in, meet the people who are doing that, talk to them about their experiences, I think is really valuable in just kind of getting a holistic view of what is involved in being a successful researcher and pursuing your passions.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on? I know you've done like some other research. We did some research before the interview. So I saw a couple other like kind of like research articles that were out there. Do you have a favorite project? Is your PhD your favorite?
Like you can't like say no to these adorable things.
Of course not. No.
But it really is just like the perfect combination. I get to use my skills as a pathologist, doing necropsies, looking at histopathology. I get to do stuff on the benchtop. I get to do computational statistical things. It really is just like a perfect combination of a lot of my different interests. So I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Do you think you'll continue after getting your PhD?
I hope so, but we'll see.
Well, thank you so much for joining. It was lovely speaking.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for watching our second episode. We look forward to many more. And thank you again to Dr. Sinnott for joining.
Thank you.